You're listening to China Africa Talk.
Jambo, ni Bridget akikuletea kipindi kinachohusiana na China na Afrika.
Vous écoutez le dialogue sino-africain avec Bridget.
Everything China, everything Africa.
Olá, você está ouvindo China Africa Talk com Bridget.
سيداتي وسادتي مرحبا بكم في الحوار الصيني العربي مع بريدجيت.
In a step toward deepening agricultural cooperation and learning, I've had the opportunity to join a delegation of agricultural experts from across the global south, including several African nations, on a visit to the renowned Yangling Agricultural High-Tech Industrial Demonstration Zone located near Xi'an City in northwest China's Shaanxi province. Established in 1997 as China's first national-level agricultural high-tech zone, Yangling has become a symbol of innovation, research and modernization in agriculture. During our visit, we toured cutting-edge research labs and agri-tech innovation hubs, gaining first-hand insight into how China is harnessing science and technology to transform its agricultural sector. What stood out to many of us was the zone's strong emphasis on sustainable farming, food security, and rural revitalization, issues that resonate deeply with agricultural challenges and priorities in our own countries. I caught up with two other visitors of this program, Zenzile Kecha, Assistant Dean, Faculty of Health and Environmental Sciences, Central University of Technology, Free State, South Africa, and Ahmed Salisu, a government official with Kano State, Nigeria. Now, gentlemen, how many times have you visited Yangling? And is this your first time in Yangling? What are your impressions about Yangling?
It's my first time in Shaanxi. I must say my name is Dr. Zenzile Kecha from South Africa. I'm an agriculturalist by profession. I've been in academia for the past 15 years. The area has been quite hot. You can see that we are in a way sweating so much, but a good experience in terms of aspects that we are going to take home. So I can say in brief that it's quite good. If we look at the significance of the technology that we have in South Africa compared to here, it is of significance. We will be engaging in some of the key aspects, especially with the government and academia, particularly the research aspects that we'll be, writing on in the future for publication purposes. I mean, we have engaged some of the professors who are publishing in high-impact journals like Nature. So it is a bit of an impression that we want to bring to South Africa to improve in terms of aspect of research and development, and as well as the practices that should be improving our key, technological practices, especially within the agricultural sector. The program that you are in is more in irrigation, and part of it at most engage aspects relating to AI, modernizing the whole aspect of the production system within various, crop systems, especially the grain, the pomology, the food stones. We just engage now in kiwi. I've seen a bit of aspects that we can engage in the greenhouse setups, like, cladding that is automated. It's something that we need to take in South Africa, unlike having, high labored, approach in terms of the whole aspect of the production, saving more on the production inputs, and also engaging on decolonizing the curriculum by improving in terms of how AI should be viewed by all the laborers going forward.
I learned today that, kiwi was it started here in China.
Interesting. I haven't done much of research on kiwi by profession. As I've mentioned in brief, my specialty is in crop science, specifically in medicinal plants, as well as some of the vegetables. I cannot say much in terms of such because I've never done much of research. Perhaps it will be something that I'll look into the future, especially understanding the production system. But it's interesting, especially learning within this brief program that we just engaged in now for the past, I think, 30 minutes in terms of how it's been produced. And I mean, some of the things that I've seen here, the pictures, the videos that I've took, and also part of the knowledge, I'll be taking it to some of the extension officers in South Africa to share how this can be improved in terms of technology, particularly the modernization with regard to AI. Some of the things that we'll engage and take to, especially with the students, the lecturers, the research aspect part of it. Yeah.
What are your impressions?
Thank you very much for having us. My name is Ahmed Salisu from Nigeria, Kano State. I'm a government official and I'm also a practitioner of agriculture. So what I can say is that the technology, these people are very advanced. You know, the way they make their research, the way they do their irrigation. So everything about them is just fantastic. I got some knowledge with me that I can take home, that I can share it with our extension officers back in our state, so that we can improve our agriculture and their irrigation. I mean, like it's kind of automated, and like they use AI. So this is something that you can take home and share it for us, the developing countries. And the program that we are in, it's tailored for our countries because we live in the arid and semi-arid area in Africa.
Okay, so as I said here, we are in Yangling, a high-tech agricultural demonstration zone in northwest China's Shaanxi province, and the zone is working to develop smart agriculture by improving the scale of intelligent technology use in agricultural production. But what has been your impression of the agricultural practices and smart agricultural centers that you've visited so far?
I can say in brief, it is something that we have been looking into in South Africa, but we've had no idea in terms of how to implement and also, expand on. I can share a bit in terms of what we have in our province. I'm from the Free State. There was one idea from the government in terms of erecting a section where all farmers, especially on aspects of agro processing, will be, engaging, taking their whole production to the second and third stage, unlike being primary producers. But what I've seen here in China, it is highly advanced in terms of the whole smart farming in respect to assuring the whole optimization of the quality of fruits. The yields are high, and it is all because of smart farming, because they, especially with the program that we are in, they talk all aspects that relates to the sustainable development goals, especially the aspect of water as saving strategies. Irrigation systems that we have learned here in terms of the production systems are going forward are of high level, and it is something that should be taken through to our government at most to implement in our country. I've seen when we did most of the visit, part of it we would see farmers coming in to see and to engage in depth on how they could be participating in terms of improving the country, improving in terms of their practices, advancing forward. Agriculture at most is viewed as a practice or as a profession of older people. Yes. But we are starting to see, the youth coming in terms of engaging in agriculture going forward. As an academic, I've quietly noted, especially now, specifically today, seeing significant good multi-span tunnel with everything that we've been espousing, especially within the research space of doing my research. I could imagine if we would take this in South Africa, have a demonstration zone, and then we start, a bilateral or engagements with China, and I hope they would engage and be open, especially with the program of the BRICS as a key, thing that is up and going. I won't go or delve much into politics, but I think if we can engage more seriously deep and do some exchange program, bilateral engagement in terms of improving our country. This is the first step. It's my second, program that I'm attending. The first one was in 2021, but it was online. So I couldn't wait to engage on a live one. This has been a good experience. And first, I will highlight two key things. The research that I'm going to be implementing in South Africa is going to be of high note. The soil science that I've seen here in terms of implementation, it is of high note. I'll be taking those into South Africa because we've been doing some of the parameters in a conventional way. But I've seen ways of how we can improve. IPs can be engaged in as part of the bilateral MOUs that we will be engaged, because part of our program allows us to engage through the embassy in terms of some of the companies, and it's something that I'm looking forward to through universities, because we are looking into triangulating the nexus between the universities, extension officers in the country, as well as the farmers, so that they get to engage to the practice that are of high note. And it's some of those things that we'll be publishing on, engaging them in a community engagement type of engagement to assure that there is a clear research uptake. And research should not only be conventional like we've been doing. We'll now be talking to real life engaged program in terms of expertise. So this is just a brief overview of how I would see going forward. The key thing will be based on BRICS, the nexus between the researchers, farmers, and also the extension officing as part of government, and also celebrating agriculture as the youth. It is of key.
What's your take?
The agriculture, all where we visited, I think very spectacular, very fantastic. So I think this is a very good engagement. Like Doctor said, if we can get our government to come in, and from our state, there are many Chinese living there, but they are not focused mainly on agriculture. But if we can bring them, engage them in agriculture. In Nigeria, we have fertile lands.
Yes.
Can you imagine in Nigeria, there is a place that you don't even have to apply fertilizer to get
You
yield.
still have fertile soil.
Yeah, we have fertile soils, but you need knowledge and experience to tap the nutrient that is in that soil. The apple farm, we just left the apple farm. Very fantastic.
The whole year, the trees are bearing fruits.
Yeah, they are bearing fruits. That is because through extensive research, like I said, mostly in Nigeria, in Africa, like Doctor said, research is conventional. It's just for to get title or for professorship or something. Most of the researches are done, but they are not the practicality. They are not implemented. So that is the problem. But I think if we can implement it, get an agreement with the Chinese government, I think it's a stepping stone.
And how is your country agriculture development?
It's an issue relating to politics, project distribution, pitching of ideas that can be engaged by, for farming purposes. I mean, if you look at South Africa itself, along with Zimbabwe, we've got significantly good soils. I've seen in Chinese what they did specifically. They've mapped out all their country. They've got all the profiles of the whole country, and specifically they could even identify sections that are specifically, that can be used for specific varieties, specific plant species, specific type of crops. If I have to mention a few, if you look at areas that are cultivated with maize, those soils are specifically tilled for maize as it is. We have similar circumstances in South Africa. If you look at the whole part of the Free State, the Northwest, Mpumalanga, I mean the whole soils around those areas are catered for grain crops. Challenge is an issue of climate, which is one of the SDGs that I've mentioned earlier. The question is, how do we approach agriculture in a smart way? It is what we have, captured in this whole system. It's the way forward. Yeah. And then another thing that is part of higher education, the whole aspects of Africanizing and decolonizing, the curriculum. The challenge is that we are trying to, in a wrong way, see decolonization as an aspect that is not really related to, advancing the whole curriculum for the better. Africanizing, yes, it must include some of the practices that are still being used. But what I've seen here, it is a way of how I'm going to be engaging. As I've mentioned earlier, the whole aspect of the nexus between the three parties, the researchers in universities, because in most cases, we normally talk about academic freedom, the autonomy within academia. But without the clear, collaboration between the government, the universities, and also the farmers, I mean, we won't go anywhere. Look at this industrial, agri-industrial zone, how it's been engaged. They've got a university within Yangling that is specific for agriculture and forestry, dealing with all things agriculture. I mean, what we were working on is basically on irrigation. But in this 3 weeks, we have learned more about soil science, basics of irrigation in depth. I mean, it was compressed, but if you are, an agricultural, you could pick up. Even some of the colleagues who are really not agriculturalists, they've picked up a lot, and they are looking forward to apply some of these techniques in their own country. But the key thing, as I've mentioned, is the BRICS. how can we have that nexus? How can we have those bilateral engagement so that we can share IPs, we can share practices, and then we do import exports, and also share some of the technologies to improve our production systems. I think those are of key. Talking about mushrooms, I think, it's one of the interesting topics.
Yeah.
I did an introduction and advanced course in Cape Town, I think in 2010, 2011.
When you saw this, is this what you left behind?
I tried to brag a bit about, knowing gourmet mushrooms, like king oysters, bunasha may. But when they opened that small, plant house, I was astonished. I was shocked to see how they, automized and how the whole system it's laid out, how everything, the mycelia they prepare, the root media, compared to how conventional, though we are trying in terms of modernizing it. I mean, if you look at Cape Town is a bit advanced in South Africa. But if you want to bring it into the inland, the practices will differ significantly. Remember, we do still have challenges of energy, the load shedding. I'm sorry to put this internationally. Yeah. We now have issues of water. Hence, I'm here for arid and semi-arid kind of irrigation system to save on each and every drop according to SDG. So, I mean, taking this to South Africa, it is going to be something else. And I'm looking forward, to see the engagement. The only bit of a worry, and I hope it will be resolved, is the view and also the systems thinking of our politicians to see the real impact that we would be bringing. Also the uptake of the different universities, because I don't want to talk about my own alone. Yeah. I do have a collaboration with a few universities. I hope we will come up with a project in line with the professors that I've engaged with, so that we can, here in China, specifically with Northwest Agriculture and Forestry University. Okay. So I'm looking forward in terms of not only writing papers, but exchanging the technology, particularly the smart agriculture. If possible, we can have a zone of this nature in South Africa. One of the things that I can mention, we've had years back, but the project died off due to no clear engagement between the three parties: researchers, scholars, farmers, and also the government. It was a fishery within the Senqu, it's Orange River in South Africa. Okay. And it was a Chinese, within I'll tell you now, Harib Dam. When I saw that model and what I've seen here, I believe if we can erect similar project, it will be advancing, the country at large.
The Chinese, they have mapped, like in our class, we have a map with all the soil compositions of all the Chinese areas. So, and they also regulate the use of NPK in their farming. So there's a regulation. For example, this year, if you want to cultivate crop A, all farmers should use nitrogen 28%. So there's a regulation here. And in Nigeria, what I would say is we have fertile lands, but we don't know how to explore them. Introducing IT, I don't think we are yet there in Nigeria. I think what we have to do now is to first explore our lands. Okay. And with collaboration with this university, I think it's a good stepping stone. And if we can have a university like this in Nigeria, I think maybe with the researchers, scholars, farmers, and maybe we can move forward. I think having a university like this or an institution, this is a good stepping stone to start. We have to start from somewhere.
Both of you would probably agree with me that many African countries have yet to harness the potential of smart technology in agriculture. How have farmers in your country transitioned from using oxen to using AI?
To this end, I can share with you, because I visited a few pharmacies in South Africa since, I think, 2 years back, when the Internet of Things started, becoming a thing that must be uptaken by most of the farmers. The challenge is most of the knowledge is still with the universities, because of they are still, like here in China, how they are actually doing the whole thing. The knowledge is still with researchers. The challenge with such is that, like I said earlier, the issue of autonomy, the challenge of lacking interdisciplinary approach when we come to research. If you look at here in China, I've seen yesterday when we visited one of the sites, the soil science one. In one of the classrooms, because it's research now, I've learned, in one of their spaces, there were children, engaging already, and you could hear and see that they are starting already to uptake the whole aspect relating to, programming, AI. We lack interdisciplinary approach within our curriculum to assure that the upcoming emerging farmers, because if we talk about the future from the Vision 2030, Vision 2040, 50, along with the SDG vision globally, one of the key things is to assure that embedded within the curriculum, embedded within the practices, is an aspect of the smart farming. But only way smart farming can be achieved is by assuring that the researchers themselves, there is an interdisciplinary, approach in terms of how AI is infused within the curriculum to assure that all those emerging farmers, before they start to apply for funds, they receive funds from government, they understand how they are going to integrate the whole aspect of AI within their whole farming practices. Relating to the current situation, traditional attitude, there is that slow, transition in terms of generational transfer in terms of knowledge. Looking into my country, the minorities are still holding most of the farming, discipline or the farming in perspective. What they do, I teach in agriculture. I see a majority of them just come in to get their first qualification and leave. And they leave, and you can see that there is a generational aspect there. What we are lacking from us as African is that we do not have that practice that is more, work integrated learning. A majority of us are being placed in some farms, and you will never get that knowledge as raw as it is. So and then you would find some of the farmers are still really stuck in their traditional production system. I can share brief. In my country, the whole aspect in grain farming, grain production, because it's the key one that is contributing towards the GDP. You would see if there is an African farmer, they are still maintaining their old systems. If you look at their tractor, they are not well maintained. And also in terms of energy consumption, you note if you look at the production inputs compared to advanced minority-owned farms, whereby they've got specific society where they are sharing knowledge. Because what I've picked up in terms of agricultural extension, when we did a study way back, we've picked up that it differs. The whole aspect of skills transfer compared to teaching in a class within a curriculum, it differs significantly. If there is no clear practice or integrated learning practice within the whole aspect. And now it becomes more challenging if you talk about adult education, especially with farmers who are already, engaged in their practices. Because, if you were to approach an older farmer and come up with new approaches, the only people that will listen to is the extension officers. And extension officers' attitudes themselves, because of, slowly they are being wiped out, the new generation is coming in. But that generation, as well as it comes through, it needs this AI, smart farming kind of systems thinking. For now, it's still a box ticking, I can say, in my, country. But we are slowly getting there. I've seen a few farms that are already, with transition with regard to generational, changes, who are really uptaking, especially within the space of horticulture, the whole thing of multi-span smart farming kind of systems thinking. I've seen a floriculture in my hometown that is very much, exporting even flowers to other countries globally. So we are getting there, but the whole process, it is really quite slower. We really need to get so much and assure that there is that nexus that I've referred to here.
Now, we have learned here that the Yangling Agricultural High-Tech Industrial Demonstration Zone is the first national-level agricultural demonstration park in China, and is also responsible for cultivating agricultural talent in many countries, including Africa. Now, does China's approach to agricultural modernization and transfer differ from those typically promoted by Western countries?
Thank you very much. We do not know our soils as much as the Chinese knows their soils. We do not know the potential of our climate in South Africa, the way the Chinese know their climate. We do not know, the whole irrigation potentiality, productivity of soils in South Africa, the way, the Chinese knows their soils. So what I would start from in terms of this is understanding the whole profiling of the whole country, to understand our soil profiles. There are some basics that are there, but from my knowledge, they are a bit old. And with time, soils are not homogeneous. They change with time. We really need to revisit those. Secondly, we need to look into the aspect of the water quality, because here in China is one of the key things, especially with irrigation. In my country, I can share a bit. We do not really care much about the whole aspect of the groundwater, there's surface water, the dams. For past few years, we had our dam level significantly, declining. We need to seek ways of how China, and I've seen those, how they are actually assuring in terms of advancing in technology, rebuilding, the dilapidated, dams, wells, water sources, if I would have to use an umbrella wording. And also with regard to varieties that grows in different areas, our sole approach currently is dealing with multi-stress because of the whole aspect of climate change. But China is not really focusing on that. They are focusing specifically on specific problems at a time. But after doing that, they integrate everything. And scientists, like I said earlier, they are more interdisciplinary. You will never find a soil scientist running or working on soil science alone. There are always a team with agronomists, agrometeorologists, as a whole. There are a team with plant breeders, and they come together, bring farmers as part of the nexus to assure that the whole uptake of the skills are engaged. And what I love about China that I've learned as part of their culture is that if researchers have come to a decision on a certain specific variety, or they've discovered some specific IP of some nature, before publishing, they go to the farmers and they implement the whole idea to the farmers directly. No questions. The policy it is as it is. With us, everything must cascade, from one level to the other and all. But here, the instruction is there. If there is a new information, it goes straight to be implemented. Everything will be resolved after. It goes straight. And also the time they take to do their research, it is more continuous. Unlike ours, depending on grants, especially scholars, grants in terms of implementing one portion of research and waiting for another grant. Here, it is one big grant that covers everything, but there must be that clear interdisciplinary, engagement or collaboration between all, experts. And IT is a key thing in this. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post it on social media or leave a rating and review. Thanks again. See you next time.